And we're here with Dwight Colley, who is the chair of Fire District 3. There are other fire districts, right? There's 1 and 2 for the other islands?
There's one on, yes, there's one on each island. It's Lopez, Shaw, and Orcas.
And so each island is organized a little differently, right?
Yes, we're the only one that does not have an emergency medical service attached to it.
Right.
Here it's a separate entity, and the others have it part of their organizational structure.
But you guys work together at least on occasion, yeah?
What?
The different districts, you work together at least on occasion?
We do. We have mutual aid agreements in place that are long-standing. They've been in the books forever. So occasionally we'll call out and get some help, or Orcas Fire will call out and we'll provide help. And the other thing we've done in the past is done some coordinated training. We ran the year before last. We ran a joint recruit academy with Lopez, Orcas, and San Juan Fire, with varying success. It was a COVID product, so we had it set up for remote. And yeah, we work together when we can.
There's a third category. When you guys have a big party or a large banquet, Orcas comes over and
They
covers
do,
it.
and we cover their banquets.
I actually was on the boat once when that happened.
Yeah,
that was
we
really
do.
cool.
We do help each other
It's like
out
a
when we
field
can.
trip.
Yeah.
They were all excited. They were
yeah.
all happy. Get to sleep in a different bed or whatever they do when they're over here.
It's about the food.
Yeah.
They get to go to a
Okay.
nice banquet and eat well.
Well, they went to the banquet?
Oh yeah.
But they would have gone out the door. If
Yeah,
they,
yep.
okay. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's
I thought
part
they
of
had
the
to
deal.
stay
They
back.
wouldn't come if there wasn't food.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a big part of firehouse life. Right?
It is. It is.
Well, so don't tell us about the parts that are typical of all firehouses. Tell us about the parts that are different to be a firefighter on an island.
To be a firefighter on San Juan Island, I think it's an honor for firefighters. It's a very trusted position.
Yeah, it sure is.
We literally have access to keys to people's properties. We have keys to access people's properties if they don't give us keys, with tools and knowledge. And we're entrusted with the property of the community, with the people's properties and their lives. Providing aid and medical services. So it's an honor and it's a privilege, and the firefighter that gets involved and stays involved gets to experience that, and that morphs into a brotherhood, sisterhood. So it becomes a tight community where we're really there for each other in addition to the community. One of the things that we model right now that we've developed for the year and we're continuing to develop is the three-tiered system of building character and then building camaraderie and then serving the community. So we call it the three C's of success. And by getting through that and then pounding it in, it's how does that meet the 3 C's of success? So you can ask them if somebody has an issue or a problem. They can help them develop the answer themselves.
Did you invent the 3 C's?
I did. That was my work with the help of some friends that I and peers that I work with.
I can see that catching on. That's pretty good.
Yep.
I'd like to add something to what the
Yeah.
chief said, and I think there's a little more to it that he's not putting in it. Number one is a firefighter here has to be ready to respond to a marine emergency, where most of us, and we have a fireboat that gives both response for fire and medical. So if it's not only on another island, but if it's, and we've done it a couple of times this year, if it's a boat in trouble, we have a marine detachment. And because of the islands that are not served, by having people, firefighters actually living on them, Henry, Stewart, Johns, and, Spaulding, those islands, Chief has developed a, what do you call it, a brigade system?
It's a brigade, yeah.
It's a brigade. Well, we've actually gone to the islands, stashed equipment, nothing fancy, and train people who live on those islands what to do with this stuff. So because, as you can well imagine, it's going to take us 40 minutes minimum to get to Stewart, to get to Henry when you start leaving from Friday Harbor. So, you know, thank goodness there's somebody on the ground that can start whatever they need to start and has some training, and this is what the chief brought to this thing. So it's important to understand that those outer islands do have some protection. I know Stewart's got, you know, some fancier stuff, but, and so that marine element to it adds a whole new dimension. I mean, as I say, if I have a 97-year-old stepfather on Henry Island, and if he gets sick, you know, and he has, you know, going from here to there, you know, that's a long trip.
Yeah, I see it with the sheriff's department too. There's mutual aid, but it's not the same as the mainland mutual aid. I remember covering fires in Missouri or incidents in Missouri, and the next fire district was not that far off.
Right.
So there's a little delay, but it's not like here. And it's got to be, I don't know, it's got to be kind of an awesome responsibility to know that that first golden hour, I guess, I don't know if you guys call it golden hour in firefighting, but that golden hour, you may well be largely alone.
Yep.
Right? And that's not something that the firefighters on the mainland have to worry quite so much about.
Yeah, it's definitely the responsibility of knowing that you're the answer, at least for the next 45 minutes to an hour, even if you get Coast Guard involved or Navy or whatever.
The ferry boat.
Yeah, right.
People running off the ferry boat.
But I wanted to add one other thing that's important for people to know about the experience of being a firefighter. And it's not just a San Juan Island firefighter, but it's really interesting when you have a shift model where people work 24, 48. We work a 48-hour shift for our shift crew, and then they get a block of time off after that. And it's a really interesting experience working in that environment, even as day staff, like I'm on day staff and some of the other day staff, it becomes an extension of people's personal homes.
Yeah,
they live there, and it's a total different experience when employees live and work together. It's unique, it's special. There's tight bonds, there's typical family strife, arguments, and it's a funny little process, and definitely keeps things lively on a day-to-day basis.
If I asked you who the best cook was and you answered, would you get in a lot of trouble?
No,
Who's
I
the
wouldn't.
best cook?
I think hands down voted best cook would be Brad Smith.
Brad Smith.
Do you eat there a lot?
No,
No?
no. When I was in EMT, we used to come over and eat, but no, I don't anymore.
What's Brad's specialties?
Breakfast.
Yeah.
He's good for breakfast, and it's usually pretty hearty and tasty, and you know, everybody's invited. So he just makes it happen.
So there can be squabbles and personality conflicts too.
Oh yeah.
Are
big
you the
time.
dad? You got to work all that out?
You know, I try not to. I encourage people to work it out themselves.
Yeah.
That's usually the best solution. But, you know, they're using the washer and dryer. They have restroom and showers, and, you know, they live there and have a recreational room. And, yeah, it's the same stuff you'd see in a family.
And it all gets set aside when there's an emergency.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
it gets
sure
all
of
gets
that.
put away. And usually emergency puts it away for a long time because
Right.
we get a large event that everyone has to work hard and really put out. All the little things go away for a while.
When you have a really major event, you know, like the couple of years ago where we lost half a block, does that take a lot out of the crew, or do you focus? I'm sure you focus on the half of the block that you saved, or the 3/4 of the block you saved, right?
Yeah.
You can't look at. I mean, it was already engulfed by the time
The
you got there.
crew, I think no. speculate a little, but because we don't get a lot of big emergencies, the firefighters train hard. They train a lot. They train weekly. Last night we were at drill outside in the pouring rain training. We train every week, and we train on weekends, and it's extensive and ongoing, and a lot of times it's the same training you just did a month ago or 2 months ago. So it's repetitive, and when we get a big event, the firefighters, in many ways, it's validation that they're using their skills and they're doing their work that they were trained to do, and in a lot of ways they walk away potentially elated just because they got to do something with the skills they've been training for years on. Me, on the other hand, I'm the one who walks away going, boy, I don't want to see another one of those in my career. Those are tough. Those are tough when we have loss, and the leadership, myself and some of the other leadership on the team, we have to handle the other side of it and deal with the people element and American Red Cross and making sure that the report is in and the insurance and that stuff. So there's another side of it that's really tough.
Does the department enjoy strong support from the community?
We have, yeah. Historically, we have. I think in large part, the fire district has fostered a very good relationship with the community. Through the various programs we offer with our public education and risk reduction, getting in the schools every year and teaching the kids. And
by the way, that DNR supported risk reduction, wildfire risk reduction program still going, right?
It is going. We are funded through June of next year, and that's a pass-through funding mechanism. So a little plug here for the public. If you haven't signed up for a Wildfire Ready Neighbors assessment, do so. Go online to wildfireready.com, and that gets you to the Department of Natural Resources portal. You can put your name, it's a little application you put in, and then that will notify us to get you on the schedule. And you'll have either one of our fire department specialists come out, or one of the members of the conservation district will come by and do an assessment for you. And it's just an assessment that's going to provide everybody with a little more information on how they can make their property fire resilient, and what we call hardened properties.
And it's free, right?
And it's free, yeah. It's a free service.
One of the candidates, Adrian Kilpatrick, who ran for county council, didn't make it, but actually did really well. He got a surprising amount of support, a surprising number of votes. Adrian, I remember I covered every public event I think that he did, and one of his top priorities was readiness for a major fire here. I guess I'll go to my last question in this block. What? Maybe that's it. Maybe it's something else. What keeps you awake at night? Maybe more than one thing keeps you awake at night. Maybe nothing keeps you awake at night.
No, it's. I'll be honest. I sleep really good. So it's a gift I have.
You look well rested.
It drives my wife crazy. She just doesn't understand it. But getting to sleep, keeps me up. And when I wake up, I tend to start thinking about things. I think for me, it's a mirror of what happened a couple of years ago downtown. We have some challenges downtown with some of the aged infrastructure in the buildings, lack of sprinkler systems or sprinkler systems that aren't operating well. So conflagration, fires that get started in compact areas, and then obviously the firefighters, my personnel who respond and not getting hurt when they go to do these events. I think that's the biggest one for me. And
is our code right?
The code's good. It's just old. It's old infrastructure and grandfathered stuff, so it doesn't really get addressed until there's major remodel. So there's still some areas. There's still some target hazards, what I would call, as far as as leadership, we talk about it. We do scenarios, and with my officers, we'll discuss it. We do walkthroughs with firefighters, and when we get a chance, and also during their academy training, we'll walk through some of the scarier potentials of what these buildings are and why you don't want to be in them if there's certain conditions, because you don't want to get trapped, you don't want to collapse, you don't want to find yourself in a situation where you don't survive because it's just a building. So.
Well, and at least at this point, it's not abstract anymore.
Yeah.
We don't want to have a repetition.
Yep.
It's already happened, and I'm sure you have the attention not just of firefighters, but of property owners and the town. Right?
Yeah, it's definitely, folks are aware, and things have, we had the fire a couple of years ago, we had one prior to that, the old Downriggers building burnt down, the Whitey's grocery store burned down. Those are all old buildings with problems, and there's still a few of those left, and hopefully business owners and property owners are paying attention and either making a capital plan to put sprinklers in, because sprinklers will check a fire. They don't put fires out necessarily, but they'll check a fire so the fire department get there quickly and have a tenable work environment that's safe to fully extinguish the fire rather than getting to what's already a conflagration.
So what I hear you saying is that you're aware of those most dangerous, perilous spots, and you train to them?
Yeah, we use them as examples and set expectations. My number one goal as the fire chief is to make sure nobody gets hurt. And then outside of that, what can we do to meet that goal, and then protect property comes next.
One of the things
Excuse me.
Sorry. One of the things I heard from property owners after that fire, after all three of them, is that especially in these older buildings, it's very expensive and difficult to put in sprinklers and other fire safety. Is there help for building owners that want to do this, but they don't quite have the funding necessary?
I don't know that there is a funding mechanism for that. I don't think so. Generally, the private sector is on its own. If it were government, there's probably some funding out there that could get granted or something. But generally, the private sector is on its own to figure out those expenses and pass on to whatever their business model is. I think it can be cost prohibitive, and it depends on the building codes. If you go to do a sprinkler system, is it preventative just in nature? Are there simpler solutions? I'm sure there are, but it's a complex world that I'm not real attuned to at this point in my career. I am an advocate of sprinklers, and especially new construction, and as we transition into a new legacy of building construction, that one person's fire doesn't turn into the entire community's nightmare.
Yeah.
Dwight, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I would like to bring up one other point that the chief brought up, has not brought up, but he started, was because of downtown, we have an agreement, the fire district has an agreement with the town that will do fire inspections of businesses so that the business owners can be appraised of the dangers, or this problem might create a problem for you and things like that. So they will in fact get inspected, if you will. I don't like to use that word, but and then we'll come back a little later on and say, can we help you out here? And that's something new. And that's designed to try and prevent the conflagrations that the chief has talked about. Is if we can, stop a grease fire, or something, or if this firebox is, fuse box. Do you still have fuse boxes?
Oh, maybe there may be still a few sprinkled downtown.
So I mean, those kind of. So it is something that is started, and that's designed to try. It's it's not anything punitive or anything else that they find.
Sure,
So it's
right.
informational.
It's a consultation.
That's a good word for it.
Consultation.
With the business owner.
My last question of this block, tell us a little bit about the unspeakable, a wildfire that spreads into a forest fire on this island. What happens? It could be a lightning strike. I mean, it's possible, right? It's not impossible.
The fires that are the pattern of fires that are occurring in some parts of our country, such as California, which is a really good example, Oregon, and even in Eastern Washington in some cases, and then more recently the tragic events in Lahaina has garnered a lot of concern by the public, and I field a lot of those concerns and phone calls and people concerned about their neighbor having a recreational fire or what have you. What I want to leave the public with is to be mindful of science. Fire is a natural occurrence, and it occurs through a scientific process of combustion. And wildfires in particular, a lightning strike or somebody having a mishap on welding when they shouldn't be welding on a day that's hot and dry and sunny. These wildfires are part of nature's process before people were even involved, and now more so are people caused. But in our environment in the San Juan Islands, we are surrounded by water. We have air mass that flows over us that's moist and has a lot of humidity in it. Our climate is pretty mild in terms of heat index and even in terms of drought. So the fires that the public sees in forests that are explosive and destroying entire communities these fires are generated by specific conditions where everything aligns. You have hot air, you have winds.
So we don't have the tinderbox.
You have terrain that's aligned. You have the fuels that are receptive, the light flashy fuels like grasses and brush. And that perfect alignment on San Juan County would be, I don't know, at this point in our climate and where we are, it may not even be possible yet, those perfect alignments. And even if it were, it'd be a very short window at a certain time of day while it's, certain heat temperature and sunlight. So it doesn't mean we shouldn't be careful, and the wildfires in our community can spread rapidly, especially through the finer fuels and the flashy fuels and on hillsides. And if they get into structures, and especially if it's a more dense area, those structures can catch other structures on fire. But again, it's the science and really knowing that, hey, we live in a fairly humid environment. It's cool. We have a nighttime inversion every night where you get high humidities. Mm-hmm. You get dew point every morning. If you wake up and there's water on the grass, you've had these recoveries. And so this environment is not conducive to what would be considered explosive fire behavior.
Right. So not a tinderbox, not super fast spread. Mm-mm. And yet, last month, the Old Man Lake fire, just 15 kilometers west of Victoria, mm-hmm. It did not spread, to your point, mm-hmm. It did not spread like crazy. Yep. But it also took them almost a month to put it out.
Yeah, and that's because of the fuel model. It's denser fuels, it's thick fuels, and it's ground mass and material that's right. Deep and punky, and the only way to put it out is you have to dig it out, and that's labor intensive. Yep.
Well, that's the end of Block 2. We learned a new word today in this show already. It's called conflagration. Didn't know that. Conflagration is spreading.
Fire's hungry, and it will keep eating unless you take away the fuel or take away the heat.
Conflagration means fire is hungry. So we're going to take a break here, and when we come back, we are going to talk about the levy on the ballot for November 5th.